The patrol ship drifted silently through the dark space between stars. For the alien crew inside, it was another quiet night. Their empire had ruled this sector for centuries, and nothing had ever dared to challenge them. The stars belonged to them, or so they believed. Inside the control deck, the crew spoke in calm voices. They were watching the scanners, checking the charts, doing their routine. It was always the same. Sometimes a stray asteroid, sometimes a wandering trader ship. Nothing worth attention. The commander leaned back in his seat, tired of the endless silence. For years, he had heard the same reports. Empty space. Quiet systems. No enemies. Nothing to fear. But tonight, something changed. One of the younger officers frowned at the scanner. At first, he thought it was a glitch. A large object was moving across the outer edge of their detection field. It looked solid, massive, but it did not match any known ship design. He tapped the controls, trying to adjust the signal. Perhaps it was just a rock. There were thousands of asteroids drifting through this region. But then the object shifted. It changed course. Asteroids do not change course. The officer froze, his voice trembling as he called to his commander. The others on the deck turned to look at the display. A shadow was moving closer, darker than the space around it. It was enormous, far larger than any civilian vessel. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The crew only stared at the strange signal, their instincts telling them this was not natural. This was something built. The commander stood slowly. His eyes narrowed. He had fought in many battles, but nothing about this filled him with confidence. He gave the order to magnify the image. The scanner zoomed in, sharpening the shape that drifted through the nebula, and then they saw it. A vast triangle of metal, sharp and endless, sliding silently through the stars. Its hull was smooth, armored with dark plating that caught the faint glow of nearby suns. Along its surface ran lines of cold blue light, shining like veins of fire in the dark. It was not a mining ship, nor a freighter, nor anything they had ever cataloged. It was a warship. The crew stared in silence. The commander felt his chest grow heavy. For the first time in years, he did not know what he was looking at. His empire had built many powerful ships, ships that had conquered worlds. But this was something else. This vessel carried no banners, no markings, no known signals. It moved like a predator, calm and unhurried, certain of its strength. The younger officer swallowed hard. His hands trembled as he spoke. He asked the question all of them were thinking: who had built this? No one answered. The commander gave the order to send a coded report to the fleet headquarters. But as soon as the message left their systems, the unknown vessel turned slightly. Its path was no longer random. It was deliberate. The ship was moving toward them. A cold wave passed through the control deck. The crew whispered among themselves, fear leaking into their voices. Ships moved in space all the time, but this felt different. This felt like they had been noticed. The warship grew larger on the screen. It did not send a greeting. It did not flash any warnings. It only drifted closer, its lights pulsing faintly, as though it was breathing. Each second, the silence grew heavier. Even the ship's engines made no sound they could detect. It moved like a ghost, a giant shadow sliding between the stars. The commander clenched his fists. He had seen enemies before. He had faced pirates, rebels, even rival empires. But never had he felt this kind of fear. It was not only the size of the vessel, it was the way it moved. It moved with confidence. It moved like a creature that did not need to explain itself. The crew watched in frozen silence as the ship passed between two asteroids, its body dwarfing them like stones beside a mountain. It did not hurry. It did not even seem to care that it was being observed. It was as if the aliens on the patrol ship did not matter at all. One of the officers whispered that perhaps it was unmanned, machine drifting through space. Another argued that no machine would radiate such controlled energy. Their sensors picked up a power source deep within the vessel, stronger than anything they had measured before. Whatever it was alive with purpose. The commander ordered the patrol ship to keep distance. But even as he spoke, he knew it was pointless. If the warship wanted them, nothing would save them. They were too small, too weak. The warship could erase them in a single strike. Minutes passed like hours. The strange vessel kept moving forward, slow but unstoppable. The aliens' patrol ship drifted quietly, its crew holding their breath. No one dared fire. No one dared send another signal. They only watched. The silence of the stars was broken only by the steady hum of their scanners. Every pulse revealed more details of the alien ship. The sharp lines of its hull. The endless rows of hidden weapons. The strange, glowing lights that seemed to burn without heat. At last, one of the officers whispered again. His voice was shaking. "This is not from any empire we know. This is not from any race we have faced before. This is something new." The commander's eyes stayed locked on the massive vessel. He felt a chill crawl down his spine, though the ship around him was warm. Deep inside, he knew the officer was right. This was not one of their enemies. This was not a rival. This was a warning from the universe itself. And as the warship drifted closer, the alien crew finally understood what true fear was. The patrol ship floated in uneasy silence. Every eye was fixed on the dark giant sliding through the nebula. No one spoke now. The crew only watched as the strange vessel grew clearer on their screens. Filling the view like a wall of metal and light, the alien commander's breathing was slow and heavy. His instincts screamed at him to act, to move, to do something, but his body refused. This ship was not just big, it was deliberate. It moved like a hunter. It was watching them. The younger officer's fingers shook over the controls. He tried to scan again, to gather more details, but each time, the system failed to record the full size. The ship was so massive that the scanners could not even define its edges. The data blurred, stretched, collapsed. It was as if the vessel itself was bending the limits of their technology. The officer looked up, his voice almost a whisper. "Our systems cannot measure it." The commander said nothing. His eyes stayed on the display, where the shape became sharper and more terrifying with every second. The vessel was not chaotic like a pirate ship, nor brutal like the Empire's own war machines. It was perfect. Every angle, every surface had purpose. This was not built for trade. This was not built for show. This was built for war. One of the crew muttered under his breath, trying to calm his nerves. Maybe it is old. Maybe it is abandoned. But even as he spoke, the warship's lights pulsed. Long strips of neon blue energy flowed across its hull, as if blood was moving beneath its skin. The glow was steady, alive, controlled. "No," the commander finally said. "It is awake." The words chilled the deck. The vessel continued forward, cutting through the asteroid field with ease. Small rocks that drifted near its hull were shattered into dust, pushed aside by invisible waves of energy. It did not even slow down. The aliens had built strong ships, but none with such a presence. This ship was a statement, a force of nature shaped into steel. The crew huddled around the main screen, each one afraid to blink. Their world had always seemed large. Their empire had always seemed unstoppable. But now, looking at this warship, they felt small for the first time. The commander tried to gather himself. He had to show strength. Send a greeting signal. Standard code. Perhaps it is a traveler. Perhaps it seeks peace. His words were strong, but his tone betrayed doubt. The officer obeyed, fingers tapping quickly on the console. A message burst into the void, a pulse of light and sound meant to announce their presence. The crew held their breath, waiting for an answer. The warship did not respond. Seconds passed, then minutes. Still nothing. The vessel only kept moving forward, steady and silent, as though it had not even noticed their signal. But the crew knew. It had noticed. The commander felt sweat on his brow. Ships ignored signals when they were broken or too far away. This vessel had received it. It had chosen silence. One of the senior crew members whispered, "It is testing us." The thought spread through the deck like fire. If the ship was testing them, then it was intelligent. And if it was intelligent, then somewhere inside that dark metal body, someone was watching. Someone was measuring them, judging them. The younger officer's voice cracked as he asked, "What if they are stronger than us? Stronger than the Empire?" No one answered. The warship shifted course again. It angled slightly, and now its massive hull pointed directly at the patrol ship. The screen filled with the sharp lines of the giant vessel. It was no longer drifting past. It was approaching them. Every sound in the control deck seemed too loud now. The hum of machines, the shallow breaths of the crew, the faint tapping of controls. Each officer felt as if the warship could hear them, could sense their fear. The commander stood straighter, trying to keep his voice firm. "Hold position. Do not fire. Do not provoke." But his words felt hollow. Deep inside, he knew their weapons would do nothing. Their strongest cannons could barely dent this monster. The vessel grew larger. Now its details were terrifyingly clear. The hull was layered with armor, thicker than any they had ever seen. Hidden compartments hinted at weapon systems, long and sleek, sleeping just beneath the surface. Every part of it whispered power. And then, for the first time, the alien crew saw the front of the ship. It was shaped like a blade, long and sharp, designed to cut through the dark. At its center burned a faint light, small compared to its size, but filled with unearthly energy. The glow shifted slowly, as though it was preparing. The younger officer's voice was almost lost in a whisper. "It sees us." The commander's throat was dry. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was no chance meeting. This was no drifting relic. This was contact. Their first contact was something beyond their knowledge. The crew stared, paralyzed, as the warship closed the distance. It did not rush. It did not threaten. It only advanced, unhurried, unstoppable. One officer, braver or perhaps more foolish than the rest, muttered, "We must warn the Empire." The commander's eyes narrowed. "No, not yet. If we panic, if we run, we may provoke it." But even as he spoke, the truth burned inside him. This was no ordinary encounter. This was the beginning of something greater, something terrifying. This was history unfolding before their eyes. The warship's blue lights brightened, washing the patrol ship in cold glow. Every alien on the deck froze. They could not move. They could not speak. They could only stare at the vast, silent machine of war that had appeared from the darkness of the stars. In that moment, a single thought entered every mind on the deck. Unspoken yet shared, this was not just a ship. This was a warning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The patrol ship floated in silence. The crew had seen strange things in space before, but never like this. On their main screen, the shape of the unknown vessel became clearer with every passing moment. It was huge, far larger than anything they had expected. No one spoke at first. Their eyes were locked on the display, hearts beating faster than normal. The dark hull of the ship stretched across the stars, sharp at the front and endless in size. Glowing blue lines ran across its surface, steady and alive, like veins of fire. The commander leaned forward. His eyes narrowed. He had seen warships before his empire built many, but this one was different. It carried no marks, no symbols, no known signs. It was silent, but it was not peaceful. It moved with a calm, steady power, as if nothing in the universe could stop it. One of the younger officers tried to measure it again. His hands shook as he tapped the console. The scanner lines flickered across the screen, trying to read the size of the vessel. But every time, the numbers failed. The ship was too large, too strong. Their machines could not capture the full shape. The officer turned his head slowly. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. It does not fit. The system cannot read it." The words sent a chill across the deck. Machines never failed like this. Ships could always be measured, scanned, classified, but this one broke their rules. Another officer tried to joke, though his voice cracked. "Maybe it's an asteroid. A strange one." But before anyone could agree, the vessel shifted. It changed direction, not drifting aimlessly like a rock, but turning with purpose. It was aiming toward them, A heavy silence filled the patrol ship. Every officer felt it in their bones. This was not an asteroid. This was not debris. This was alive. The commander straightened. "Send a standard greeting," he ordered. His voice was calm, but inside he was not. His chest was tight, his breath uneven. Still, he could not let fear show. The officer obeyed, sending a coded message of peace into the dark. It was the language of their empire, the message they sent to strangers. They met in deep space. The crew waited. The vessel gave no reply. The seconds stretched long. The only sound in the deck was the hum of machines. Then a minute passed. Then two. The warship said nothing. It only kept moving closer, silent and steady. The commander's jaw tightened. Ships ignored signals, sometimes pirates, rebels, outlaws, but even they showed themselves eventually. This one chose silence. It was not careless. It was deliberate. One of the crew whispered, his voice trembling, "It is watching us." The words made the others stiffen, because he was right. The way the vessel moved, the way it aimed at them, it was not chance. It had noticed them. It was choosing its path. The younger officer swallowed hard. What if they are stronger than us? What if they are stronger than the whole empire? The commander did not answer. He kept his eyes on the screen, where the vessel's dark surface grew sharper and more terrifying. The ship was close enough, now that they could see more details. Its armor was layered, black and deep, built for war. Strange compartments lined its sides, hidden but obvious to anyone who knew weapons. The glowing blue light pulsed like a heart, slow and steady. One officer gasped. "Look at the front." The image shifted, and they saw it. The front of the warship was shaped like a blade, long and sharp, cutting through the darkness with ease. At its center was a single light, faint but powerful, glowing like a star held inside the metal. It gave no warmth. It only glared forward, cold and alive. The crew fell into silence again, their minds filled with the same thought, though none wanted to speak it. If that weapon fired, their ship would not survive. The commander felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. His empire had always been powerful. They had crushed enemies, conquered worlds, ruled the stars without fear. But now, in front of this warship, their empire seemed small. The vessel drew closer still. The glowing blue veins along its body lit the patrol ship in cold light. The crew sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid even to breathe too loudly. One brave officer muttered, "We should warn the fleet. We should tell the empire." The commander's voice was low, firm. "Not yet. If we send more, if we move wrong, it may see us as a threat." But deep inside, he knew the truth. No message, no warning, no army would matter. This was not just another ship. This was something greater. Something different. The warship passed between two asteroids, its body dwarfing them, turning them into shadows beside a mountain. It glided as if space itself was bending around it. The patrol ship's scanners flared and failed again. The energy coming from the vessel was too much to record. For a long moment, nothing moved. Both ships hung there, facing each other in the dark. The patrol ship was tiny, fragile. The warship was endless, silent. One of the youngest crew members whispered, almost too quietly to hear, "This is not an enemy. This is not even a rival. This is something else." The commander closed his eyes briefly. He wanted to believe it was a dream, a vision, a trick of light in the nebula. But when he opened them again, the warship was still there, closer than ever. Its blue glow burned across the screen, and in that moment, every officer on the deck felt the same truth. They were not the hunters anymore. They were the prey. The unknown warship had come from the stars, and it had chosen to show itself. The galaxy had just changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. The alien patrol ship had no choice but to hold its position. The giant warship filled their screens, casting its cold blue glow across every console and every face. Nobody moved. Nobody dared to breathe too loudly. At last, the commander gave a single order. His voice was steady, though fear pressed against every word. Send a coded alert, quiet, to the nearest fleet. The officer obeyed. His hands trembled as he entered the command. A pulse of light shot from their ship, a hidden message across the void. Within minutes, the nearest fleet of the Empire would know what they had seen, and when the fleet received the signal, the news spread like fire. The Empire's commanders had laughed at many reports before. Pirates, rebels, strange signals, all of them had been crushed without effort. But this report was different. The data from the patrol ship was incomplete, corrupted by interference. Yet what little remained was terrifying. A single vessel. Unknown design. Unknown power? Too large to measure at first. The admirals did not believe it. A ghost story, perhaps. A sensor error. But then the second report arrived. Then the third. More ships in nearby sectors began to detect the same shape, same massive signal drifting through the stars. It was real. The fleet responded quickly. Dozens of warships were sent to the region surrounding the patrol vessel. The aliens expected the giant warship to retreat, to vanish into the darkness. But it did not. It stayed, silent. Watching when the fleet arrived, the patrol crew felt a brief moment of relief. Their screens lit up with friendly signals, the Empire's warships surrounding them in formation. Rows of dreadnoughts, cruisers, and fighters spread across the stars. The commander of the patrol ship allowed himself to breathe again. They were not alone now, but as the fleet lined up, the unknown warship did not move. It remained still, its cold blue lights pulsing, so it was alive and waiting. On the flagship of the fleet, the admiral stood tall. He was proud, arrogant, certain of his power. His voice echoed across the comms. "This is our space. Whoever you are, you will identify yourself. Now." There was no answer. The admiral's tone hardened. "You will not ignore the Empire. This is your final warning." Still there was silence. The massive vessel remained dark and calm, only the faint glow of its energy veins shifting slowly. The fleet grew restless. Officers whispered on their bridges. Pilots gripped their controls tightly. The unknown warship seemed larger with every second, as if the stars themselves bent around it. The patrol crew watched with dread. They could feel it, deep in their bones. This was no ordinary encounter. Then, without warning, one of the fleet's captains acted. Perhaps it was arrogance. Perhaps it was fear. His ship fired, a bolt of energy, the strongest weapon of their empire, shot across the void and slammed into the side. Of the unknown vessel, the crew held their breath. The bolt vanished. It struck the hull, and then nothing. No explosion. No damage. Not even a scratch. The ship absorbed the strike as if it were nothing more than light rain falling on a mountain. The fleet froze. Every officer, every soldier, every pilot sat in silence. Their most powerful weapon had done nothing. And then the warship changed. The blue lights along its hull brightened. The pulsing veins glowed hotter, brighter, flooding the darkness with a cold radiance. The patrol crew felt it in their hearts, a warning. The vessel had not attacked yet, but now it was awake. The admiral's voice cracked for the first time. "Hold position. Do not fire again." But it was too late. Fear spread like poison through the fleet. Every crew member knew the truth. Their empire's strength meant nothing here. This ship was beyond them. The patrol ship's commander stared at the screen, his throat dry. He whispered the thought no one wanted to say aloud. "If it fires, we are finished." The warship's glow continued to rise brighter and brighter until its entire body was lit like a star of cold fire. Its weapons hidden no longer revealed themselves. Long lines opened along the hull, each one a silent cannon, each one powerful enough to destroy worlds. The aliens trembled. Their fleet, hundreds strong, seemed like toys compared to this one vessel. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's warriors felt small. Minutes passed. The warship did not fire. It only glowed, brighter and brighter, daring them to make another move. And in those minutes, fear became something greater. It became truth. The aliens realized that they were standing before a power they could not match. Their history of conquest, their pride, their victories, all of it was meaningless here. This ship belonged to a species they did not know, species that had remained silent until now. One officer on the patrol ship closed his eyes. He remembered the stories told in whispers across the stars, stories of a new species rising in the shadows. Stories of beings who fought not with numbers but with will. Humans? Could this be them? The question spread like fire in the minds of the crew. A forgotten name, a rumor, a possibility. If this was humanity, then the galaxy had truly changed. Still, the warship did not attack. It only waited, its presence crushing, its silence louder than any words. The alien fleet did nothing. No one dared to move. No one dared to fire again. Fear had spread through them all. The patrol commander leaned forward, his voice low, steady, and filled with dread. We are not the ones in control anymore. They are. And across the galaxy, in fleets and empires far beyond, whispers began to spread. Whispers of a new power. Whispers of humans. Whispers of a warship that made. Even the strongest empire freeze in fear. The alien fleet hung in silence. Hundreds of ships surrounded the unknown vessel, but not one dared to move. The patrol crew sat frozen, eyes wide, staring at the giant warship that seemed to glow brighter with every passing second. The tension was unbearable. Their weapons were armed, their engines ready, but nobody wanted to fire. They all knew what would happen if they did. The single strike earlier had done nothing. Their might was useless here. The admiral of the fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was proud, hardened by years of war, but in this moment even he felt small. His throat was dry, his hands stiff. The unknown ship was unlike anything he had ever faced. It did not attack. It did not retreat. It only waited. The silence pressed against them like a storm about to break. The crew of the patrol ship held their breath. Every second stretched longer than the last, and then it happened. The lights across the warship shifted. The glow pulsed, rising and falling in a rhythm that was not random. Then, without warning, every communication channel across the fleet flickered alive. Static filled the air for a moment, then cleared. A voice came through. It was deep, calm, strong. It spoke in words the aliens understood, though no translator had been activated. The sound carried weight, a presence that filled every ship at once. This is a warning, the voice said. The words echoed in the minds of the alien. Crews, simple, direct, terrifying. You are trespassing near human space. The patrol commander felt his blood run. Cold. Human. The word struck him like a blade. He had heard whispers, fragments of stories from the edges of the galaxy, but no one had believed them. No one had thought they were real, and yet here it was, a human warship, speaking, watching, judging, on the fleet flagship. The admiral stiffened. His pride burned, but his fear was stronger. He forced his voice through the comms, trying to sound confident. Identify yourself. We do not recognize your authority here. There was silence. The crew across the fleet leaned in, waiting, hearts pounding. Then the voice returned. Colder now. You do not need to recognize us. You only need to understand. The words rolled through the fleet like thunder. Every officer, every soldier, every pilot felt the weight of them. These were not the words of a desperate people. These were the words of a power that needed no approval. The admiral swallowed. He had commanded countless battles, but never had an enemy spoken with such certainty. He tried again, but his voice was weaker now. This region belongs to the Empire. We have ruled here for centuries. You cannot, the voice cut him off. You rule nothing here. The silence after that was crushing. On the patrol ship, the commander glanced at his crew. Their faces were pale, their bodies tense. None of them spoke. None of them even dared to breathe loudly. The warship's lights pulsed again, brighter this time, as if the ship itself was alive, listening, watching. One of the younger officers whispered, They know everything. They are not asking. They are telling us. The patrol commander nodded slowly. Yes, they are not negotiators. They are not seeking terms. They are here to deliver a message. And the message was clear. The fleet hung in silence, trapped between pride and fear. Some of the younger captains whispered about firing again, about showing strength, but none moved. The image of their first strike vanishing against the human hull still burned in their minds. The admiral tried one last time, though his voice trembled now. What will happen if we do not leave? The response came at once, as if the warship had been waiting for the question. Then you will not leave it. All the words landed like a blade across the fleet. Simple, final, unbreakable. The patrol commander felt a chill crawl down his spine. The human voice was calm, but there was no weakness in it. No hesitation. It was the voice of a predator, certain of victory before the battle even began. On the bridge of the flagship, the admiral looked out at the warship on the screen. His hands tightened into fists. He wanted to fight. He wanted to show the strength of his empire. But even he knew, deep inside he knew, if they attacked, they would all be destroyed. The warship did not need to prove itself. Its presence was proof enough. Minutes passed in silence. The voice did not return. The humans had spoken, and now they waited. Across the fleet, fear spread like fire. Crews whispered to each other in hushed voices. Soldiers shifted uneasily at their stations. Captains stared at their screens, unable to look away from the glowing giant before them. Every one of them felt the same. Truth, their empire was not the strongest force in the galaxy. Not anymore. The humans were real, and they had just announced themselves. The patrol ship's commander lowered his head, his voice soft. The galaxy will remember this day. The warship remained silent now, its lights glowing, its cannons hidden but ready. It did not need to say more. The message was clear. This was human space, and those who trespassed would pay the price. The alien fleet hung in a heavy silence. The human warship had spoken. Its words were few, but their meaning was sharp as a blade. A warning. A boundary. A promise. Most of the alien captains sat frozen in their command chairs, unable to act. Their hearts beat like drums, their voices lost in fear. The patrol crew that had first seen the ship watched in silence too, their faces pale. But in every fleet there are always some who do not believe. One captain, bold and arrogant, leaned back in his seat and sneered at the display. He was younger than the rest, his pride sharper than his wisdom. He had grown up hearing only stories of victory, stories of the Empire crushing every enemy in its path. No one had ever defeated them. No one had ever stood in their way to him. This warship was just another challenge. He opened a private channel to the admiral. His voice was filled with confidence, almost mocking. They are bluffing. Look at them. One ship against hundreds. They want to scare us. That is all. The admiral did not answer at first. His eyes stayed locked on the glowing vessel, its blue light reflecting across the bridge. Deep inside, he knew the truth. But pride is a dangerous thing, and the Empire had never been tested like this before. The young captain pushed further. Let me test them. Just one strike. If they are strong, we will see it. If they are weak, we will destroy them, and this story ends here. The admiral hesitated. His instincts screamed no. But before he could refuse, the captain closed the channel and gave his own order. Target the warship. Full power. Fire. The weapons of his ship lit up the void. A massive blast of energy tore forward, a weapon powerful enough to shatter asteroids and burn through fleets. The beam raced across space and struck the human vessel. The fleet held its breath. The patrol crew gripped their seats, eyes wide. The energy blast hit the human hull and vanished. It was as if the warship had swallowed the attack hull. The glow of its surface rippled for a moment, then returned to normal. There was no scar, no burn, no mark. The strongest weapon of the Empire, done nothing. The silence that followed was worse than the blast. Every alien ship froze. Every officer stared at their screens, unable to believe what they had seen. Their most powerful strike had been nothing more than a ripple in the dark. And then the warship stirred. The glowing blue veins along its hull brightened, flaring like rivers of fire. Panels opened, long and sharp, revealing hidden weapons across its surface. The ship did not fire, not yet, but its power was awake now, alive and breathing. The fleet trembled. Hundreds of ships against one, but none dared move. Every captain, every soldier, every pilot felt the same truth. If the humans wanted, they could end them all in seconds. The admiral's voice shook as he shouted across the comms. "Cease fire! Do not attack again." His words were sharp, but fear clung to them. The arrogant captain who had fired tried to speak, but his words caught in his throat. He looked at the screen, at the glowing giant he had just provoked, and for the first time in his life, he felt powerless. On the patrol ship, the commander whispered to his crew, "Do you see? They are not bluffing. They do not need to attack. Their silence is enough." The younger officer swallowed hard. Then why do they wait? Why do they not destroy us now? The commander's eyes narrowed. Because they do not need to. They want us to understand. They want us to fear. The warship's lights pulsed again, brighter than ever. The fleet around it seemed small, fragile, like children standing before a storm. And then the human voice returned. Calm, cold. Final, you have been warned once. There will not be a second. The words rang through every ship at once, shaking every heart. There was no anger in the voice, no hatred. Only certainty. The certainty of a predator that knew its strength. The admiral felt sweat on his brow. He clenched his fists, fighting his pride, fighting his fear. At last he gave the order. All ships, stand down. Do not engage. The fleet obeyed. Engines dimmed, weapons lowered. Not a single ship dared move against the human vessel again. The patrol crew let out slow, shaky breaths. Their bodies trembled, their hands still tight on their controls. They had never seen fear spread so quickly, not even in the darkest wars of their history. The arrogant captain who had fired sat slumped in his chair, silent now. His pride was gone, crushed beneath the weight of the truth. His ship's power had meant nothing. Against this warship, they were ants before a giant. The warship did not press the attack. It did not strike. It only floated there, silent, glowing, watching, as though the humans had decided to give them a chance to let them live. If they chose wisely, the galaxy had changed in that moment. The aliens had tested the giant, and the giant had not even needed to fight back. The fleet was quiet. Hundreds of alien ships floated in the void, but none dared to move. Their weapons were cold, their voices silent. The human warship stood alone in the center, glowing with that strange blue light, its hull smooth and unbroken. As if no attack had ever touched it, time seemed frozen. Minutes stretched into hours, though only a short time passed. Every alien officer felt the weight of that silence pressing down on them. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of judgment. On the flagship, the admiral sat in his command chair, unmoving. His heart still pounded from the human's words. One warning, no second chance. Those words repeated in his mind, burning like fire. His crew waited for orders, but he gave none. What could he say? He had led fleets across the stars, crushed enemies, claimed systems for the Empire, but against this one ship he felt powerless. Every move seemed dangerous. Every choice carried the shadow of destruction. The young captain, who had fired the attack, sat in shame. His arrogance was gone. His crew looked at him not with respect, but with quiet fear. They had seen the result of his pride, and they had seen the giant's answer. On the patrol ship, the commander leaned forward, staring at the glowing warship. His crew whispered quietly, their voices small, like children afraid of the dark. "Why don't they attack?" one officer asked. "Because they don't need to," another replied. The commander nodded slowly. "They are waiting. They want us to understand. They want us to remember this moment for the rest of our lives." Outside, the warship remained motionless. Its weapons were still hidden, but everyone knew they were there, ready, watching. The lights along its surface pulsed gently, as if the ship itself was breathing. It was alive. It was aware. And it was patient. The admiral opened a private channel with his highest officers. His voice was low, heavy. "We cannot fight this. You have all seen it. One ship stood against our entire fleet and did not even flinch. If we strike again, it will destroy us all." Some of his captains nodded, their faces pale. Others clenched their jaws, their pride burning. One spoke with anger. "Are we to bow before them? Are we to retreat like cowards? The Empire has never retreated." The admiral's eyes narrowed. "And what use is an empire if it is ashes in the void? Pride will not save us here. This is not an enemy we can crush." The captains fell silent. They hated his words, but they knew they were true. Meanwhile, across the fleet, fear spread in waves. Soldiers whispered to each other. Pilots stared at their controls, too afraid to look at the screen again. Even the strongest veterans felt the same dread. The warship had spoken once. That was enough. The younger officer on the patrol ship broke the silence. Do you think they will let us leave?" The commander's eyes stayed fixed on the screen. He did not answer right away. Finally, he whispered, "If they wanted us dead, we would already be dead. That means they want something else. They want us to carry this story home. They want the galaxy to know." The thought made the crew shiver. This was not just a warning for them. It was a message for everyone. Humanity was here. And they wanted the galaxy to understand. Back on the flagship, the admiral's thoughts raced. He could not simply retreat. To return home and admit defeat would mean shame, punishment, maybe worse. But to stay was suicide. He looked again at the glowing ship. Its silence was heavier than any weapon. He realized then that the humans had already won. Not by firing, not by destroying, but by forcing the Empire to hesitate, to doubt, to fear. The standoff dragged on. The human ship did not move, did not fire, did not speak. It simply waited. And the longer it waited, the more unbearable the silence became. Finally, the admiral made his choice. He opened the fleet channel, his voice hard but low. "All ships prepare to retreat." There was a ripple of shock through the fleet. Some captains protested at once, their voices sharp. "Retreat? Admiral, this is madness. We cannot return in shame." The admiral snapped back, his voice full of iron. "You think this is shame? Look at that ship. Look at it. If you want to die, then stay. But if you want to live, follow me." The channel went quiet. No one dared argue further. Engines lit across the fleet, dim and cautious. The ships began to shift, preparing to break formation and pull away. Every movement was slow, careful, as if they were trying not to wake a sleeping beast. The human warship did not move. Its lights pulsed, steady, calm, watching, waiting. The first ships pulled back, then more, until the entire fleet began to turn away from the giant. The patrol ship was one of the last to move, commander keeping his eyes locked on the glowing vessel until the very end. As they retreated, the warship remained where it was, silent, unmoving, like a monument in the dark. Only when the fleet was far enough did the human voice return one last time. Its tone was the same calm, unshaken, filled with certainty. "Remember what you saw?" The words echoed across the fleet, sinking deep into every soul. Then the channel went dead. The admiral closed his eyes, his heart heavy. He knew the truth now. The Empire's age of dominance was ending. A new power had arrived. On the patrol ship, the commander whispered to himself, "The galaxy will never be the same." The crew sat in silence, the image of the glowing warship forever carved into their minds. And behind them, in the dark void, the human warship remained silent, patient, and unchallenged. The fleet moved in silence. Hundreds of alien ships slipped away from the dark region of space, their engines low, their formations broken. No victory music played. No cheers filled their halls. It retreated, and every soldier, every officer, every captain knew why. Behind them, human warship remained, a glowing shadow in the void. It did not chase, It did not fire, it did not pursue, simply stayed, watching, waiting. Its silence was the greatest weapon of all. On the flagship, the admiral stood at the center of the bridge. His crew worked quietly, afraid to speak too loud, as if even their words might draw the humans back upon them. The admiral's mind was heavy. He had seen many battles. He had commanded victories across the galaxy. But this was different. They had not lost in combat. They had lost before combat could even begin. A single ship had stopped an entire fleet. He turned to his officers, his voice hard but low. No word of this is to be changed. No one is to twist it. The Empire must know the truth. His words fell heavy. Truth was dangerous. The Empire lived on strength and pride. To admit they had been stopped, that they had been forced to retreat, would shake the Empire to its core. But the Admiral knew lies would be worse if others underestimated these humans. The result would be destruction on a scale they could not imagine. The officers nodded in silence. They too had seen the truth. On the patrol ship, the commander sat with his crew. None of them spoke for a long time. Finally, the youngest officer whispered, "What will they do now?" The commander's eyes stayed fixed on the dark screen where the human warship had been. "They don't need to do anything. We'll do it for them. We will spread their message. We will carry their warning across the stars." The crew shivered. They knew he was right. When the fleet finally reached safe territory, news spread quickly. At first, only whispers. Stories told in quiet corners of ships and stations. A warship of impossible strength. A voice that spoke with power beyond measure. An Empire's fleet forced to retreat without a fight. But whispers cannot stay whispers for long. Soon the story spread from system to system. From captain to merchant, from soldier to child. They grew like fire, unstoppable, carried on every tongue. The Empire tried to control it. Tried to bury the truth, but fear is hard to silence. Everywhere, the same phrase echoed. The humans are real. Worlds that had never heard of Earth now spoke the name in hushed tones. Races that had once mocked the idea of humans now trembled at the thought. Some believed the stories, some denied them. But all felt the same chill. A new power had entered the galaxy. The arrogant captain who had fired the first strike was stripped of his command. His pride had nearly doomed them all. He lived with the shame of knowing he had faced the humans and failed. Before even touching them, the admiral stood before the council of the Empire. They demanded answers, demanded to know why he had not destroyed the lone ship. His voice was steady, but inside he was shaking. "You do not understand," he told them. "Cannot understand until you see it. That was not a lone ship. It was a shadow of what lies behind it. If one vessel can stop us, imagine what a fleet of them could do." The council murmured, anger and fear twisting together. Some dismissed his words, saying he was weak, but others listened. And those who listened began to prepare. Across the galaxy, other empires heard the whispers. Some laughed, calling it a story told by frightened soldiers. Others grew cautious, remembering their own legends of strange beings at the edge of space. The patrol commander returned to his homeworld. He was called before leaders and questioned again and again. Every time, his answer was the same. "I saw it with my own eyes. The humans are real, and they are not to be tested." His words spread further than he could have imagined. Soon, in the far reaches of the galaxy, even those who had never seen a human warship began to prepare for the day they might. Meanwhile, far away, deep in human space, the warship drifted silently through the stars. Inside, its crew watched the reports. It listened to the whispers. They saw the fear spreading like wildfire, and they smiled. The humans had not needed to fight. They had not needed to destroy. They had needed only to be seen, the galaxy now knew. The humans were here, and the humans were not to be crossed. The patrol commander's final words echoed in his crew's minds for the rest of their lives. The galaxy will never be the same again. And he was right. From that day forward, every captain, every admiral, every empire looked at the stars differently. Because somewhere out there, hidden among the endless night, the humans waited, and everyone remembered the warship that spoke only once, but changed everything.